It's time now for the Success is Subjective podcast. Here is your host and therapeutic consultant for young adults only, Joanna Lilley.
Hi, and welcome to the show. Today, my guest is Austin Rogers. Austin is the executive director of Rooted Life Adventures, where she brings extensive experience and passion to her role. With a degree in international studies from Baylor University, Austin has always sought purposeful work, navigating careers in nonprofit, government, and corporate sectors before finding her true calling in experiential learning and adventure travel. After moving to New Zealand in 2018, Austin spent 5 years with a leading gap year company, facilitating transformative journeys for over 700 students across 15 countries. She recognized an increasing need for mental health support among adolescents and young adults and aimed to fill the gap between traditional gap year programs and intensive adventure therapy. This led to the creation of Rooted Life Adventures, a program that uniquely combines adventure with therapeutic support. We will actually talk briefly about Rooted Life Adventures during this interview, and I also encourage anyone listening to check out their website to learn more. Austin's personal experiences deeply influence her work. Her brother's autism diagnosis profoundly impacted her family, teaching her the value of joy and connection in therapeutic settings. Inspired by the transformative power of joy, she aims to create programs where fun and mental health support coexist, helping kids rediscover their vibrancy and joy. Okay, let's get to the interview now with Austin on today's edition of Success is Subjective. All right, Austin, I'm so excited we're already giggling before we even hit record. I joked that I was going to ask her really invasive questions. That's not going to happen, but I'm really excited that you are not just stateside and with internet service to be able to do this recording, but you are willing to do it knowing that I was going to ask personal questions. So thank you for taking time to do this interview.
No worries. Thank you, Joanna. I'm so psyched to be here. Finally. So Joanna did reach out to me to do this podcast, but I have been in so many time zones and countries with very shady internet since then. I've truly been in 4 countries since you've asked me. So I have found, here I am in the US. We're finally ready.
We got the window of opportunity, so we're capitalizing on it. So, okay, I don't know. Are you like where you are in the US? Is it where you grew up? I'm curious.
I am currently in Dallas, Texas. I'm a Dallas girl, which is really confusing when I travel internationally because everyone wants to know why my name's Austin, but I'm not like from Austin. So clarification, I am from Dallas. And this is where I grew up. My whole family's here. And I'm like the wild one that lives all over the world. Like nobody in my family's ever left anywhere. And then I'm in a different time zone like every other month. So I'm the odd kid out. What are you going to do?
But you're living your best life.
I'm freaking loving it, no lie.
Well, let's get to like not just what you're doing professionally, but even how you got to be where you are through your own personal journey. So tell us, what did you do growing up in Dallas and kind of like what was the messaging that you were hearing from maybe your family or even like just, Dallas society? What are people supposed to be doing once they graduate high school?
Oh, man. I definitely grew up where there is like the life you're supposed to live, right? Like there's this track in front of you and that's just like what you're supposed to do. And so, for welcome to Dallas, Texas, I did do cotillion. I did all of those things. I am very close to I didn't go full debutante, but that was where I lived, just so you have the picture painted in your head. I went to Baylor University, which where everyone in my family went. There is definitely, it's called Ring by Spring. You're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to be immediately married after college. And you're just supposed to sit down and have a family and have a house. And truly, if you're not married by 22, you get serious side eye. Which I did. But I think what led to me jumping out to kind of all of my other worlds was even though I had all of the resources and all the family set up and, I basically looked picture perfect for all of the things that you're supposed to do in Dallas growing up. This is embarrassing. Joanna. So there's Baylor beauties. We did beauty pageants. That has happened to me in my life. Okay. Let's not talk about it. But I fit the picture of what every parent wanted for their kid. Like I was perfectly set up for like all of those things. And from such an early age, I had this deep rejection of it. I don't know what it was, but whether or not I looked like I was in the picture, like I should be there, I did not fit. I knew I didn't fit. This was just not the picture for my life that I wanted. And I knew from an early age, I just loved other countries. I was obsessed with other countries. If it was international, if it was another culture, if it was another time zone, I loved other governments and other cultures. And I just thought everybody had, I thought everybody was doing things cooler than we were. I was like, oh, do you know they do this in Sweden? Oh, do you know they do this here? And I was intrigued by it so young. And when I went to college, I studied international studies, and I loved it because all we did was talk about other governments, other societies, other cultures, other values. And I ate it up with a spoon, like just loved it, and would like debate my teachers for like ages and ages and ages. And I was a total geek, and I would nerd out about this stuff. But that was still in Texas. And I was like, oh, my world just doesn't feel big enough. Like this is me. I know that Dallas is a big city, but I definitely felt like a small town girl, honestly. And I was like, I'm going to move to DC. And that just upturned so many carts in my family. They were like, move to DC. Like, okay, well, just so you know where I'm from, they're like, you're going to be a liberal. They're going to really do, like, the word Yankee was used, okay? This is where I'm from, just so you know. So I moved to DC. My parents are so worried about me. They're ready for an intervention. But I moved to Washington, D.C., and I just like really had that whole like small town girl going to the big city. I felt so like, had this wide-eyed experience, and I thought it was amazing. The whole world is in D.C., Like there are different festivals for different cultures going on everywhere. There's a representative of every country there. There are international organizations on every block, and I was like, oh, this is gold. I love the whole world being in this kind of 6x6 square mile radius. And you would get on the train and people would be speaking different languages. And I was like, this is amazing. And I was looking for work that I thought that I would like really fit into. And honestly, I watched way too much West Wing growing up, no lie. And I was like, oh, I'm going to find it here. I'm going to find my path. I'm going to find my purpose here. And I tried on a bunch of different stuff. I did AmeriCorps. I did AmeriCorps for 2 years. I worked a bit in government. I worked a bit in nonprofit. I worked a bit in corporate, just trying to find like what is purposeful work that I just can't wait to sink my teeth into. And that kind of same feeling of sort of not fitting in Dallas, like kind of also continued no matter which environment I started to work in. I learned great things. I learned a lot about the world, but it didn't feel like me. That was kind of like all in my 20s. And then I turned 30. And most people dread turning 30. They're like, oh my God, I don't want to turn 30. It's like a whole thing. And turning 30 was the most empowering thing in my whole life, Joanna. When I turned 30, I was like, I'm officially an adult. Nobody listens to you in your 20s, right? Like no one listens to you in your 20s. You're just like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's in her 20s, right? When I turned 30, I was like, I'm an adult now. And I can make adult decisions and I can trust them because I'm a grown up. Like truly I had this, I'm a grown up person now and I can trust myself, which was really funny that it took me that long. And for some reason that mile marker. And I quit my job. I decided, and I sold everything I owned. I sold everything. If my parents were ready for the intervention before DC, you should have seen, they were calling people. They were like, what's she doing? I literally did a giant yard sale. I sold everything I owned. And I was like, I'm going to go travel for a year. This kind of travel bug, obsession with the world hasn't ended. I'm 30. It's still here. Let's go find out what this is. And so I sold everything and I was like, I'm going to go travel for an entire year. And I was going to start in New Zealand, because that's just like a massive bucket list place and everybody talks about it. So I'm like, I gotta go see this place. And I went and I found a program online called an adventure guide training program that was 12 weeks that would pay for your housing and food and would teach you how to be an adventure guide. And I was just kind of like going as a tourist, like, so you're going to take me hiking and climbing and the coolest places in New Zealand and, house me while I do it. Deal. That sounds great. And I did this program where you showed up and they would take you rock climbing 1 week and hiking 1 week, building on each of the skills until you got your qualifications and teaching you how to be a guide. And I did more epic stuff than I've ever done in my life. I felt like I was wildly alive. I did multi-pitch climbing, which was just way out of my range, which means that you climb the length of your rope, hitch in, climb again, and then climb again, and then climb again till you're 4 lengths of your rope up. I mean, I had no business doing something like this. I was just like, wow, and people do this. There's this whole world out here where people live crazy different lives. And where I kind of thought where my limits were, these aren't their limits. Like, this is a whole other adventure. It felt like Dorothy over the rainbow. I was like, what is this new world out here? People live life really different. And New Zealand is the opposite of the US. Okay, there's no such thing as hustle at all. There's no such thing as a side hustle. Like, you wouldn't do it. And there's nothing there. Like, I mean, it's an island. They do not have Walmart or Target. Oh, they don't have Target. It's a struggle. But like, there's nobody who's like, oh, I'm going to start up a side business and like try to make extra cash. They're like, they prefer their time and being outside and being with friends. Most people prioritize like 4-day work weeks so they can all be outside. It's not a litigious society, so you can't sue people. And these are crazy adventurous people. So this is where bungee jumping was invented. I mean, people, I'm like, what's happening here? It's also like 30 years behind the States. Like, my boss, I was going to him. I was like, hey, can I borrow your car? I'm going to go into town. Can I have your keys? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, where are they? And he's like, they're in the ignition. They leave their keys in the ignition with their car unlocked. That's standard. If you're ever looking for Kiwi's keys, they're in the car. It's unlocked. It's ready to go. And I was like asking him, his daughter was like on a school trip that day. And I was like, what does a field trip in New Zealand look like for an 8th grader? And he's like, oh, they're going paragliding today. Your 8th grade daughter is going paragliding today on the school field trip. Like, do you know an American mother would never allow such a thing? And so my world was just like, oh my gosh, there's just this whole other way of life. And I loved it. And I got obsessed. And I'm in this program. I'm learning all these things, having my world kind of blown wide open. And halfway through my program, didn't graduate, apologies. But halfway through my program, the owner of the company had purchased a gap year program. And it is this like leading gap year program that takes students from the US traveling all over the world. And he hired me halfway through my program. He's like, I'm starting this thing and I need people like right now. And so I became the admissions director at this program, which meant formally moving to New Zealand. I went through the entire immigration process. I am a resident there now. And I've worked with this program for 5 years. And so I was like, this is a job? Like, are you kidding me? And so all of a sudden my job was to talk to families and interview students and prep them and then kind of administer these programs all over the world. And now I've interviewed over 700 kids doing over 60 programs, and they were 10 weeks long. So we would do 3 or 4 countries in a season, and they did overland journeys. They were continuously traveling for 10 weeks, doing every single day. There was something scheduled. It was either a volunteer activity, cultural immersion, adventure, traveling to the next place, or sightseeing and doing the bucket list stuff. And we'd take groups of 12, 18 to 22-year-olds, and they would move continuously. And so across my wall, let me just show you my picture. I'm living in New Zealand. I've got a wall that has like 6 to 9 programs across it with 70-day itineraries going down. And so my phone has so many time zones in it. Like, at any point in time, I have instructors calling me from Bangkok, calling me from Peru, calling me from all over the world. And my whole job is like, okay, these guys are in New Zealand and then they fly to Australia tomorrow. These guys are in Bali. They're going scuba diving tomorrow. These guys are in Bangkok. They're taking the overnight train and they're doing this tomorrow. Like, and knowing where all these people were and everything they were doing and every health concern and every mental health concern, and knowing what was going on with 100 kids at a time, doing the most adventurous things you could possibly be doing. And I could not have had more fun. I found something that I just sunk my teeth into so seriously. And when you find work that aligns with all of your values, when you find work that are the problems that your brain loves to solve, when you find work that is meaningful and purposeful in a way that you feel like you're making the best impact you could possibly make on the world, when that work provides for you to live a lifestyle that makes your body thrive. I mean, I was living in New Zealand doing crazy adventures myself over the weekend with a small team that I just considered family. And I was just like at the height of my life. I was like, I can't believe I was leading some of the programs as well. Sometimes I'd go out and lead them and come back. I'd design the program and go lead it and come back. It was just amazing. And so even from then, I was working from New Zealand, from Hawaii, from Thailand, from all over. And so I'm like, yeah, for work, I got to go to Hawaii for 3 months. Oh, rough, it was fantastic. But during the admissions process for the first couple of years, we definitely saw more and more students started to come in and then started to list more things on their application that we didn't know or understand, more diagnoses. They started to list their therapist as their reference. Students on programs started to be less successful on programs. Stuff that usually our kids would thrive doing, all of a sudden they were really seeing our program instructors just started calling us all the time. My kid says they're having anxiety attack. My kid says that they're having disassociating, and they would call me being like, what does that word even mean? Like, we were Googling it, like, what is that? And struggles with executive function, less resilience, and not getting along with the team, and just social skills, and all this kind of stuff was happening. And that just kind of started happening steadily. We noticed it, right? And then COVID hit. And I kid you not, Joanna, I evacuated 5 groups from all over the world. I evacuated 5 groups of 12 from Guatemala, from Bangkok, from 2 from Australia, and 1 from New Zealand, in the middle of every airport in the globe shutting down, me on the phone with all of these embassies, everything in the world. And, obviously that was a fun thing to navigate. And so we kind of like did a big pause, and then we started operating again after COVID. And what we had noticed before COVID became almost standard after COVID. The higher needs or higher level of care, or just students needing more attention. Our program starters, we usually do a ratio of like 2 to 12, right? And it just became over our heads. And so I went to go lead a program, and I didn't know these kids. I didn't recognize these kids. I didn't understand them. I didn't know what their needs were. Old tactics that I was using, or the way that we ran things before, just were not hitting. It was not, I was like, wow. Honestly, I recognized myself hitting my ceiling, my level of education and understanding, and understanding this new kid. I knew I hit a sort of limit. And honestly, it felt like a kind of like personal professional failure. I was like, I've run into a wall here. And I left and I went to the States. And I did a massive deep dive. I was like, I don't believe that I'm serving the kid that we have today. And I don't even think I know the kid that we have today. And fair enough. Like, these are 20-year-old programs. Like, 20 years ago was a different generation. That was a different kid. So it makes sense to like figure out, who do we have now, and why are they different? And why does maybe the model that we had not totally serving? It was serving a lot of the kids, but there was a percentage of kids that mattered to me. And they mattered to me because I'd be on the phone with a mom who would just be calling, being like, look, my kids had a hard year, and this and this and this has happened, and I need something for them. And I want them to have this win. I want them to go to New Zealand and have an adventure and have fun and have friends and feel alive and excel and gain confidence. And that kid would come, and that kid would not complete that program or get sent home for behavioral reasons, which really, with a little bit more help and a little bit more support, they would have been successful. And I was on the phone with a bunch of parents who were just crying on the phone with me, being like, what does my kid need? I don't know what's out there for them. And so I started looking around, what are other programs that we could send them to? And in my year, I just was like, we need to find out what else is there. What are the resources that are available for people? And I didn't know anything about wilderness therapy. I didn't know anything about adventure therapy. I didn't know anything about anything. I mean, oh my gosh, we're talking brand new, Joanna. I was so new to this world, hadn't heard of any of these programs at all. So just start like researching them, calling them, showing up to conferences, asking anybody I knew. And I was like, wow, okay, so it seems to me, as a total new person coming in, that there are standard traditional summer camps or standard traditional gap year programs. And then if you don't fit into one of those, or you're not going to be successful in one of those, you have this massive jump to wilderness or a residential or adventure therapy, which is super needed, but it's a huge jump in level of care and huge jump in price point and huge jump in everything. And I was like, okay, but what about the kids who are maybe not the best fit for gap year, but are looking for that experience? But just need a little bit more support and maybe aren't ready for something full on. Like, this is 2024. There are tons of kids that are sitting in that in between. And I didn't find many programs or things for that in-between kid. And so I just did this huge year. I looked like one of those mad movies, right? Like the stuff all over my wall with the strings pointed to things, right? Like, I mean, it was a lot of whiteboard time. And I was like, okay, if I were to design the perfect program to address today's kids, what would that be? And so, of course, I had to start with, well, what are the needs of today's kids? And so I went and I interviewed a bunch of therapists in Dallas, and I just said, tell me what you're seeing. for all of the kids that you're treating right now, give me like a list of the top things you're consistently seeing or consistently treating or whichever. And they were really happy to comply. That was really grateful. They were just like, yeah, I've seen this, 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 and this. And I was like, okay, I'm not a therapist. I'm a program person. So let me just, what is that in English and not medical acronyms? What is that in English? And then I was like, okay, it looks like students are really struggling with a sense of self, knowing who they are, with a sense of belonging. We have a pretty lonely generation, really just desperate for authentic connection with others, who want to know where they belong, where they fit in this world, a sense of capability to be confident. And that's life skills, social skills, self-regulation skills, just that they feel capable and knowing how to navigate things, whereas in a sense of purpose. Who am I and what am I going to do in this world? And I was like, okay, let's take those and let's design a program that tackles all of those things experientially first. And let's take all of the things that are fantastic about gap year that we know are so good for your mental health, right? Like, let's go do adventure and international travel, meaningful volunteer work and internships, and live in a small group that's focused on friendship and learning how to develop as a team and as a person, doing that co-living, figuring out how to be a roommate and a housemate. And I was like, okay, today's kids don't need to know how to travel every 3 days. They're desperate for life skills. So let's move it to a home where one day a week we just do adulting 101, right? Like how to, literally, you're not allowed to leave my program without knowing how to scrub a toilet, clean a kitchen. There are no excuses for your future partners. And so let's just do life skills where you learn how to take care of yourself and take care of running a home. And we do all the things. We do, cultural immersion day, a volunteer day, an internship day, and 2 adventure days. And then let's add some intentionality to it where we're intentionally supporting your mental health. So let's do 1 day a week. It's a wellness day where we learn all of the lessons that are just good for young people and young adults and adolescents to learn. And then let's have it be run by a therapist because, as I found out in all my research, apparently there is a job called adventure therapist, which again, someone should give you the jobs when you're like starting out, because if anybody went down the list and there was such a thing as adventure therapist, like who wouldn't have signed on for that, right? And so I'm like, okay, but like a lot of programs that have therapeutic support, they come in and they meet once a week or maybe twice a week. And I was like, as far as I know, the drama on my programs doesn't like put a pin on it and be like, hey, I see this is like blowing up, but like, could y'all hold till Thursday? The therapist gets here. I was like, what they need is they need in the moment coaching. You want someone right there to be like, whoa, I'm seeing some big emotions. We're going rafting today and you're starting to have that anxiety. Whoa, what's going on? What's the anxiety before this, rafting trip or whichever. So I was like, let's add a therapist who doesn't act like a therapist. It's the most confusing role. The first thing I tell people when I hire them to be my wellness director, which is what I call them, because my programs are led by a therapist who lives in the house with them 24/7 for 6 or 10 weeks straight, however long the program is, and they act like a therapeutic coach. And it's funny because I hire therapists, and then the first thing I tell them is like, the first thing I want you to know is I don't want you to be a therapist. They're like, great. I was like, I want you to channel your best camp counselor, your best silly, fun, mentor camp counselor. And we're just going to do in the moment coaching. We're not doing past to present. We're just doing present and future. We're having a pool party and one girl's sitting out and you can see in her face, she really wants to be in the pool party. And so I just want you to go to that girl and be like, hey, what's in between you and the pool party? And so my program is all about like application of skills. And so, okay, like what's in between you and the internship? What's in between you and all of these friends? What's in between you and the pool party? And so, and it's just that application, So that's my program. That's how Rooted Life Adventures was born, of just like, let's just take a little bit of all of the cool resources that are out there, like transitional living and adventure therapy and gap year and summer camp. And then let's smoosh them all together to kind of make something that I think that people would love. And a lot of families, when they call me, they're like, hey, my kid doesn't really need wilderness, or doesn't really need residential. They're not at that need level yet, or they've done it already. And they're looking for something kind of like more on the uphill. I would say people probably do my program at 1 of 2 places. Either this is the first program they've ever done with any therapeutic support at all, or they've done the whole arc and the whole journey and they've done wilderness or PHP or IOP. And now they're looking for like more of a transitional program. But when people call my program, my parents who talk to me, they're like, a lot of places that support mental health for kids are very serious places. They either feel, my parents tell me, they either feel somewhere in between hospital or boot camp. And so I have intentionally created a program that is as much fun as you can humanly pack into a program. And, you know, all these kids have been through COVID. You know, all these kids have been robbed of 2 years worth of those pool parties and summer camps and slumber parties and adventurous experiences. And so I'm like, man, I got you for 6 weeks. I'm going to make up some memories. You know, give me a second. We're going to catch you right up, girl.
Honestly, Austin, I think one of the things that I have enjoyed watching about your journey and kind of not just hearing how you got to the place where you created Rooted Life Adventures, but actually applying it, seeing it unfold and roll out. And as a consultant on my end, the need was there. So I'm so glad that you were perfectly in that place to then see the gap, no pun intended, and create the supportive gap program that you're now operating. And we'll make sure people that are listening, we could totally spend all day talking about Rooted Life Adventures and all of the nitty gritty that entails. It supports adolescents and young adults. Look in the show notes to actually dive into what programs specifically might make sense for your child. So, Austin, last question. I just want to wrap up. Knowing your full history, right? From cotillion in Dallas to Baylor student to being the one who has wanderlust and moved out of town, all the way to the professional and personal journey that you have getting to where you are. Do you see yourself as successful?
I love that that's what your podcast is about, because I think I have spent so long imagining what success looks like in my life. And I will say that I probably don't define myself by success at all. I define myself of my life is purposeful. My work is purposeful. And that means more than anything else in the world to me. And my definition of purpose is very simple. Find your unique gift, skills, and interests and apply them to benefit the world some way. And you will have the most meaningful and fulfilling life. And for me, I found that I am great at designing programs, and I am great at making fun, and I am great at imagining new worlds. And if I can wrap all those things up and design a program that helps kids create amazing memories, support their mental health, and help them imagine more for their lives, imagine new worlds for themselves. Just like I being stuck in Dallas and knowing I wasn't fitting, I had to imagine a new world for myself. I had to imagine a new environment that is a place where I would thrive. And I know a lot of people feel stuck like that, you know, and it's just because there is a life out there. It's just not the picture that's set in front of you. And that's okay. And it's also okay to go try on a bunch of different pictures, because the more you learn about yourself, the more you learn that something's not it. That's even better. Like I tried nonprofit. That wasn't it. I tried government. That wasn't it. And like, I would just encourage any young person who's just feeling super stuck, go try on a whole bunch of stuff. And if you find out what's not it, that's crazy helpful to you to know something that's not it. And then just keep imagining a world where you thrive. And it's okay if it doesn't look like anybody else's world around you, but find what you love and what you're good at, your unique gifts, skills, and interests, and just figure out how you can make those things and apply them to benefit the world somehow, benefit nature, benefit animals, benefit people. And I promise you, that is going to be this wildly purposeful, meaningful life. And if you keep imagining and you keep pushing yourself to imagine even more, you could live a life that's like beyond your wildest dreams. And that's what I have. I have a life that is a product of my dreams. And that's what I tell any person who's just stuck and figuring out what they want to do, is just imagine as much as you can, I guess.
I love it. I'm like picturing as you're talking to him, like the call to action is, what is your purpose, right? Or how do you find getting to that place? And it's not ever it's not like a single stop. Like you try something out, it doesn't work, and that's it. It's over. It's like, no, you keep trying things out. You find joy, you find happiness, you find experiences, you find connections. So I love that that is your definition of success. And I will again sing your praises for the work that you're doing and the program that you've created, because it's needed, right? That supportive gap experience is needed. So thank you again, Austin, for being a guest on the Success is Subjective podcast.
Thank you, Joanna. I appreciate it.
That's it for this week's Success is Subjective episode. We want to thank our guests for joining Joanna on the show this week and for being willing to share your journey. This podcast would not exist if it weren't for people such as yourself. Stay tuned for our next episode, where you can bet it'll be another amazing human sharing their personal story with the world. Make sure you check out the show notes, where you will find contact information, website details, and all social media for our guest. Put a face with a voice by accessing their interview on the newly formed successissubjective.org website. If you are interested in being a guest on the podcast, you can email Joanna at joanna@successissubjective.org. Be sure to check out the collegealternative.org and lilyconsulting.com websites for additional resources outside of podcasting. If you are listening to the show on Apple Podcasts, please subscribe to the show. And while you're at it, feel free to leave a review. You can also download to listen to the Success is Subjective podcast on other popular podcast apps, such as Audible, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. Last but not least, Success is Subjective is listener-supported, made possible by our team and by you. You can support this podcast by joining the Patreon community at patreon.com/successissubjective. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, there is no single path through life. Success is what you make it.
Do you have a teenager or young adult who seems to have lost their way? Maybe they need help navigating adolescence, adulthood, and decisions surrounding higher education. Or maybe they have become withdrawn, their grades are slipping, or they are flat out living a reckless lifestyle, and you're concerned about their health and well-being. If this describes what your teen or young adult is facing, a therapeutic consultant may be able to help. Mental health, addiction recovery, and higher education can all be equally expensive. While information is everywhere, how do you know what option is the best one for your family? Some parents have the time to research and navigate this on their own. Some don't. If the latter applies to you, enter therapeutic consultants. Therapeutic consultants, like Joanna, listen to your family's specific needs and advocate on behalf of your loved one. TCs will research therapeutic resources, recommend treatment programs, and assist during adulthood transitions. Not being affiliated with any program, their support is completely objective and catered toward the best interest of each unique family. To find a qualified therapeutic consultant to work with, check out TCA, also known as the Therapeutic Consulting Association. Their website is therapeuticconsulting.org, all one word. Again, that's therapeuticconsulting.org. Then click the Find a Pro tab up at the top.